everyone! Today we're going to be talking about the film Sophie's Choice, and we're going to kind of be briefly doing an analysis, mainly on the moral decisions that are portrayed in this movie. This movie does have to do with the Holocaust, so it is a pretty traumatic experience that we're going to be talking about. So we're going to start with the main character, and mainly the choices of her, which is going to be Sophie. She goes through a couple scenarios in this movie where she has to make quite important decisions, and mainly we're going to be briefly touching base on Kantianism, utilitarianism, and virtue ethics, and how all of these kind of intertwine in this movie. So basically, we're going to do one of the choices that she does have to make. And she is married to a man named Nathan. A very toxic marriage. To me, Nathan seems to display quite narcissistic behaviors, lashing out, very big victim complex, using people for his own emotional gain. And so she decides to stay in this marriage, mainly to minimize suffering for either her or just end all be all. And if we look through this through a utilitarian lens, if she's minimizing the suffering, she's protecting herself in the process, and I guess it would suffice because actually maybe not that I'm saying it, but she is still going to suffer probably in some way because she is going to be still married to this horrible man. And then if we bring in a Aristotle's virtue ethics example, this would question whether or not Sophie's actions are stable, if they're coming from a stable place. She is in an unstable environment, so for her to make a morally stable decision doesn't seem like it would be the case. But one of the main decisions, the big choice that she has to make in this movie is when she is in Auschwitz. She is forced by a soldier to decide whether either or of her two children will live. She does not get a decision to say none. Obviously, she has to choose one. And from a Kantian perspective, this would be a violation of her autonomy and her own decision, because she has to make one, and the end-all decision does end in suffering because a child will be killed. And so her freedom is stripped away to act morally or to even have any virtue in this decision. Utilitarianism also struggles with this because it doesn't minimize harm in any way, because there's a child that either lives or dies, one or the other, and then also the traumatic experience that not only is the other child enduring, but Sophie is enduring as well. And so there really isn't no option to have no harm in this. So that would be a struggle to use that perspective for it to be sound. And if we talk about the unstable environment that she does live in, she decides to hide some of these truths from her past, mainly for her own benefit, to reduce harm in the long run for herself or others. But it's a big struggle because this trauma that she is experiencing is making it difficult for her ability to make a stable decision. So Aristotle would probably argue that it's going to be difficult for her to make a stable decision, or to make a stable decision at all that would work in this scenario. So basically, we just touched on 3 different theories for this movie and Sophie's kind of big decision in general. This can kind of bring up how some ethical theories can be addressed and sometimes struggle with extreme trauma and certain decisions and environments or choices. So, thank you for joining me as we kind of briefly explored on this film and Sophie's moral dilemmas. Like and subscribe. Cheers.